Hello, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I'm going to show you how to crochet a lovely lacy scarf that I came up with myself called the Argyle scarf. I think it's a rather fitting name for it. Very, very simple, pretty easy repeat, and I rather am pleased with the results. And so it starts at a point and gets wider and narrower, and it creates these really neat fillet diamonds as you go. And what I did for this piece, this was a red heart ombre in violet, I believe, or orchid, I can't remember which. No, not sponsored, but you know me, I like to share. And it used just less than one skein. I made this rather long, about 7 feet, and really quite simple. And I used a size I 5.5 millimeter hook for the yarn. It's a 4-ply weight yarn. Really quite simple. And well, let's get into it, shall we? Alrighty. All right, starting right in with row 1. Now again, I'm using a size I hook, 5.5 millimeter, and some more worsted weight yarn. Now really, you could use whatever works for you by all means. I would suggest though that if you are going to use a color change yarn, the ombre I found worked very, very nicely. However, I wouldn't suggest one with a quick variegated color change because it would, I think, take away from the fillet work. Same thing applies with, say, Karen cakes or something where there's a distinct line where the color changes. Just putting it out there, personal preference. Solid color would look very nice with this stitch. So starting with a slip stitch, of course, and we are going to start by chaining up 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's going to count as our first double crochet, and that first chain is what we're going to be stitching into for the remainder of row 1. So we have our first double, and we need 4 more double crochets into this first chain for a total of 5. So that's 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And then you can quite simply just pull that nice and taut. And there you go. Row 1. All right, row 2, we're going to be increasing. Now, there are a number of ways that you could do it. You could chain up 3, turn your work, and do another double crochet into the same double crochet. By all means, if you're comfortable with that, you can do that. However, I find that it creates a bit of a gappiness later on. So, my preferred method for this type of project, quite frankly, is something I've done before, where you don't do any chains initially. No, you just turn your work, and then into the first stitch, the first double crochet, we're going to do a single crochet. We're not chaining up yet, no. Single crochet and a chaining up of 1, and that will act as our first double crochet. Then, within that same stitch, then do another double crochet. So we've got 2, and then 1 in each, and then on the last double crochet we need 2, because we're increasing on both sides. So that's a total of 3, and 4, and 5, and then into the top chain of this last one. The first one is always the trickiest, because it helps if you turn it a little bit, and then be sure to go underneath both loops of the V, like so. And we're going to go into this one twice with double crochets. It's all double crochets. There we go. So now we have a total of 7. So we went from 5 to 7. All right, and that's the end of row 2. Okay, row 3. Again, we're doing our increasing, so turn the work, single crochet into the first stitch, chain 1, double crochet into the same stitch. So that's 2 doubles, double crochet into the next 2 stitches. That's 1 and 2. Then chain 1, skip a double crochet, and then going into the next one with a double, like so. Now also be warned that when you're making these chains in between your doubles, don't do them tightly because we're going to be working in them. All right, so we did a double, double crochet into the next double, and then increasing once again, 2 double crochets into this last double. And again, it can be a little bit tricky if your chains are a little bit tight. So you want to go looser than tighter with those. And I'll show you what I mean. So right now we have 4 and 4 and a chain 1 space, like so. Right, and that's the end of row 3. Okay, row 4, still increasing, so turn the work, single crochet into the first stitch, chain 1, and double crochet into the same stitch. We're going to be doing this at the beginning of every increase row. Okay, so that's 2, and then 2 more double crochets for a total of 4. Now on the edges, the beginning edge and the ending edge, always 4 double crochets, the equivalent thereof, whether we're increasing or decreasing, and that creates a really nice border around the diamonds. All right, so we have our 4 double crochets, then chain 1. Now we need to skip this double crochet and do a double crochet into the chain 1, which is why we need the stitch to be a little bit loose when we're chaining. Now you could just do a double crochet into the chain space. You could, but personally I think it looks just a little bit nicer for this project. So I go the extra mile for this one. Sometimes I don't, but this one I do. All right, so we did our double crochet, chain 1, skipping a double, double crochet into the chain 1 space, or into the chain, then chain 1 again, skip a double crochet going into the next double crochet. So now we have 2 spaces, and we need a total of 3 more double crochets. So double crocheting into the next double crochet, and then 2 double crochets into the last one right here, because it's always 4 at the beginning and 4 at the end. All right, so you can see it's starting to fan out a bit. Alrighty. Also, this is one of those projects that would probably look even nicer if it were blocked. Personally, I'm not fluent with blocking, but I'm just saying. All right, so that is the end of row 4. Okay, row 5. Same deal as before. We turn the work, single crochet into the first stitch, double crochet into the same stitch, 2 more double crochets for the total of 4. Okay, chain 1. All right, so now skipping this double crochet, double crocheting into the chain or the chain space, either or, I won't judge. Alrighty. Then double crochet into this middle double crochet, and then another double crochet into the next chain. Okay, so we went from 1 to 3, chain 1, skip the next double crochet, going into the next, and then we need 3 more for our total of 4. So that's 2, and then in the last one, 2 double crochets for the total of 4. All right. So I gather you're seeing a progression. I hope so anyway. All right, so that's the end of row 5. Okay, row 6, going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing, except bigger. So we're turning the work, single crochet into the first stitch, chain 1, and double crochet into the same stitch. 2 more double crochets in the next following stitches for a total of 4. Hello. So that's 3 and 1 more. 4. Okay. Chain 1, double crochet into the chain or chain space. Okay. And then double crochet into each of the next 3 double crochets. And double crochet into the next chain. So we went from 1 to 3 to 5. Chain 1 again. Skip the next double, going into the next, and ending with 4 double crochets. So that's 2 doubles, and then 2 in the last double crochet. Oops. Come on. There we go. And that is row 6. And we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing until our piece is wide enough. And you know me, I like to be thorough, so you're stuck with me until then. You can always skip ahead, that's quite all right, but for the sake of being complete, I want to be thorough, so stay tuned, and we shall go on to row 7. Row 7. Same deal as before, we turn the work, single crochet into the first stitch, chain 1, and double crochet into that same stitch. Okay, then 2 more double crochets. Like so. Chain 1, double crochet into the chain or chain space. The only thing I would recommend, though, is if you're going to go into the space and not the chain, stick with it. You know, do it throughout the entire project. Or if you're going into the chain as I am, stick with it. Because if you have some that are and some that aren't, it's not going to look well. So after doing that, a double crochet into each of these 5 double crochets. You know, whether you take one route or the other, you know, as long as you're consistent, that makes for a nice looking piece. You know, whether it's one way or the other. You know, that I would say is a matter of personal preference. Okay, then double crochet into the next chain. And I have a tendency of stitching rather tightly a lot of the time, so I can totally understand wanting to go into the chain space. So after going into the chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next, and the next, and then 2 doubles in the last. Like so. That's the end of round 7. Well, row 7, excuse me. All right. And let's keep going. Okay, row 8. Because 8 is great. Turn the work. Single crochet into the first stitch. Chain 1. And double crochet into the same stitch. 2 more double crochets for the total of 4. It's always 4. For this particular pattern, yes, at the beginning and end of each row, always 4. Chain 1, double crochet into the chain space, and then into each of the double crochets in the middle. So that's a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the 9th will be into the chain over here, like so. Chain 1, skip the next double, going into the next stitch with a double, and the next, and 2 in the last. Okay. Alrighty, that was the end of row 8. Okay, row 9, I'm feeling fine. Start by turning the work, single crochet into the first, chain 1, double crochet into the same stitch, 2 double crochets in the following stitches, 1 and 2. So we have our total of 4. Chain 1, skip the first double crochet that we come across, going into that chain or chain space with a double, like so, and then 1 in each for these. So that is a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then the 11th goes into the next chain or chain space, like so. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next with a double, and the next, and 2 doubles in the last. Ta-da! Alright, so that's the end of row 9. It's really getting there. Also, I would strongly suggest keeping count, because otherwise it's very easy to, it's easy to flub. So I would suggest, at least when you're starting off, to be sure to count, especially the borders of the 4 doubles. Otherwise, it will look a little bit askance. So we shall keep on going. Alrighty. Okay, row 10. Row 10 and 11 really are the same deal. And then row 12, well, that's when things get interesting. Alright, so for row 10, we're going to again do the same thing. single crochet and chain 1 into that first stitch right there, double crochet into that same stitch, 2 more double crochets for our total of 4, like so. Just gonna pull up some more yarn here. There we go. All right. Get my tail out of the way there. Alrighty, and then chain 1, double crochet into the chain because we have to skip that double crochet. There we go. And then, of course, double crocheting into each of the doubles for our diamond. Now, by all means, you can totally play with and tweak this pattern. You know, I certainly won't take it personally. You know, for me, it was just a matter of, you know, how can I do this? How can I make this work? And it took some figuring, but I figured it. And I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. Also because, you know, I have this thing with diamonds and the Argyle pattern in general. I find it oddly fascinating. Same thing with plaid and houndstooth. Alrighty. And then, of course, we're doing a double crochet into the chain or chain space. So for row 10, in the center with the diamonds, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13 should be your count. And then chain 1, skip a double crochet, going into the next with, of course, a double crochet, 1 into the next, and then 2 into the last because we need our 4 double crochets on either side. And there we are. Okay, just one more, and we'll be getting there. All right, be right back. Alrighty, row 11. If you're still with me, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so as per usual, going to turn our work, single crochet and a chain 1 into the first, double crochet into the same stitch, and then 2 more double crochets for our total of 4, like so. Chain 1, double crochet into the chain because we have to skip that next double crochet right there. And then, you guessed it, double crochet into each of the double crochets of our diamond. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and the 15th goes into the chain. Like so. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next with a double, and the next, and then 2 in the last. Ta-da! All right, so that's the end of row 11. Hello, my dears. The video was taking a little bit longer than anticipated, and I needed to break it into 2 parts so that my video editor would not give me grief. Sorry about the inconvenience, but we shall continue right along, and I hope that you're enjoying this video, and if you are, please give a little thumbs up button and give me your comments and so on and so forth, because I do love what I do, and I want to be thorough, and that's why I'd rather do 2 parts than a condensed, scrunched down one video. Okay, so with that being said, and if you want to see more and all that good stuff, please hit subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.